Okay. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And my guest today is Tonya Fines. And Tonya has kind of a varied background that kind of sounds like she kind of changed back and forth a little bit with what she was doing and where she was going. And so very interesting background, and I'll let Tonya tell us all about it and where she is now.
Great. Well, hi, and thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. So, yeah, I'm actually Canadian, born and raised in
Oh,
Canada.
my
Yeah.
mother was too. No, she wasn't raised, but born, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So grew up in Canada, and then in 2000, and I think it was 2011, 2012, maybe, took my family and we moved to New Zealand, lived there for about 5 years
Wow.
before coming to the US, and I'm now currently living in Tampa, Florida, and I absolutely love it. So very lucky, feel very blessed to be living here. Yeah. And as far as me and what I've done and what I do, I've always pretty much worked in health and wellness, health, fitness, wellness. My career actually started as a high school teacher working in health sciences and biology and all of that good stuff. So I was always interested in health, fitness, and wellness, always very active, very involved in
Uh-huh.
sports, very involved in dancing.
Wow.
When I got into adulthood, I actually started doing like pro bodybuilding. So more
Oh,
for,
wow.
I have spina bifida,
Okay.
and I wasn't diagnosed till I was in my 40s.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it wasn't something that was outwardly visible. It was more, it's a different form, it's a different type of spina bifida that doesn't present like you can see it.
Huh.
So
Uh-huh.
I was doing kickboxing and taekwondo and all of those things because I kind of like really tough, aggressive sports. But I was having so much trouble with my back. And one morning I just woke up and I couldn't even move my head from side to side. I was in pain and I was immobile. I was just stuck in bed. So eventually luckily my neighbor was a nurse. I was able to get out of bed, and at the time I was told it was going to be surgery or nothing, and I had to quit all the things I love. So taekwondo, kickboxing, going to the gym and strength training, all of these things that I've always done. And I thought, and at the time when that happened, I was in my 30s. And when that happened, I thought, I don't think so. I don't really think I need surgery. I know I don't want surgery, and I have young children. So I did not like the idea of what that was going to look like afterwards. So after several years, just by fluke, had to get an x-ray done. I was really scaling back on the things I was doing, and I was miserable. But I just did more of other things, stretching, yoga, things like that I didn't really enjoy, but they kept me active. And to make a really long, involved story short, I ended up having to get just a follow-up x-ray done. And the x-ray technician said, I just want to do something. He goes, I just have a feeling. I want to do something. He goes, I'm going to take an x-ray of like your neck, like between like the top of your nose to kind of like your sternum area. And he said, I want you to turn around and just open your mouth, and I'm going to take a couple pictures from the front. And I was like, okay, sure. And before I got home, the x-rays had gone to my chiropractor. So before I got home, my chiropractor called me and said, I need you to come in right away. And I thought, okay. And I went in, and he said, you're not going to believe this. He goes, but you have a form of spina bifida. It's up in your neck. He goes, see, I can't remember which ones they were, but two of the vertebrae in my neck were like, they were open. They weren't closed. So like my spinal, like the nerves, the bundle of nerves,
Okay.
completely exposed.
Oh my God.
So that was a bit of a game changer. And, but at least then we knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, what do you think? He goes, you don't need surgery. He said, but he goes, I know that you were doing strength training. How about you just become more focused on that? And just, if you keep your core really, really strong, he goes, you're going to be good for a long time. He goes, I don't recommend you get into like dirt biking or any kind of don't be jumping out of planes and stuff like that, because any kind of accident could cause like forms of paralysis. So
Yeah.
I started, in time. I'm very, when I do something, I have incredible focus, and there has to be like an end game and a goal. So I started lifting, and then that led into competing. That led into me working with other athletes, mostly on the nutrition side, because by then I had started a company, Fines Organic and Natural Food. So I was
All right.
selling organic and natural foods and supplements which turned into people coming into the store and me spending a lot of time with them, getting to know them and finding out like what their problems were, what was bothering them. So that turned into nutritional counseling, which just, it kind of the whole thing, it just sort of, it was like an evolution. I stayed in the same industry, but it evolved into becoming more specific and more specific.
And that's where you are now?
And now, well, now, and then, so that turned into me, when I got to, I took that, when we moved to New Zealand, I took the company, moved to New Zealand. And then when we came back to Canada, it was shortly after my dad got sick. Came back to Canada, and then coming into the US, I started working for this really great company in Clearwater, Critical Bench. And they brought me on board as their in-house holistic practitioner, because by then I'd also completed and got my certificate in holistic health practitioner. I got my license. So I became kind of their in-house holistic health doctor, and was doing a lot of content, writing a lot of ebooks, PDFs on different and various health topics, largely, not exclusively, but largely for women. This is a company that had a huge following in the male audience. But what had happened was now their female audience was growing, and these were women that were interested in, I want to be strong. I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. My body's changing. How do I do it? So I came on board and was working with them. So I ended up doing a lot more written content driven work, which I loved, and a lot of video content for them. And then when I left Critical Bench, I wanted to go out on my own and do more of that kind of content creation and work on my own. And was doing some contracts with other fitness companies, doing their email campaigns, doing some content for them. So I'm still working largely in that realm. It's driven me more to, I do a lot of content work. I'm still very much love the health and wellness fitness industry. I am a coach with the Educated Dieter. I work primarily with women who are pre, peri, and menopausal. I'm working with them because it's a game changer when this starts to happen. And, so I have clients, in their mid-30s and older. So it's all of a sudden these women that have been taking care of themselves wake up and they're like, why isn't this stuff working anymore? My body's changing, but I'm doing the right things, like all the things that we've been doing, but something isn't working. And it's a whole new journey in your life. So I work with these women, and it's really, it's awesome. It's awesome to work with these women and start to see them kind of open up and embrace what this journey is, because it is different and it's not all bad. But once we can relax into and accept that it's going to happen, if you're born a female, it's going to happen. You're going to go through menopause at some point in your life.
Well, let's put it this way. It's better that you end up having to go through it than not.
Right.
Right. Because if you don't, then you're not here anymore.
Not here. Right. And I mean, I usually, when I first start working with a client, and it's largely a conversation where she is filling me in and letting me know what's been going on, what has been working, what's no longer working, what are her greatest frustrations, what are her goals. And after listening to all of that, I'm pretty transparent and like, well, it sounds like you're premenopausal or perimenopausal, or it sounds like we're kind of in there. We're in the carnival right now. And there's two ways we can do this. You can go through it like this, or you can go through it like this. So let's focus and work on getting you set up with a program and a plan that works with your body, that has you going through it like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I always found it to be an excellent excuse for things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, I can't go there tonight. No, I'm not, can't do this. No, don't feel like it,
Yeah. Well, it can, definitely with some, I don't have this with, I'm not having this with any clients right now, but certainly with friends. I mean, clearly I'm at my age, my female friends, we're all kind of in that same age bracket, and some are through it. Some of us are heading into it. So a lot of the conversations and things we talk about sort of end up about that. Like, I can't, why is it I come into the kitchen, I went there for a reason, and now I have no idea. And now I'm just pissed off at everybody, so we find moments to laugh
Oh,
at it because you have to,
oh, you have to. Yeah.
but there's also a lot of conversations about what the gift in it is. And that can be really
Mm,
hard to embrace when you're
mm,
going through it and when you're just feeling so frustrated, so hopeless. You just
mm.
want to give up because you can't sleep, you're gaining weight, you got the mind fog, you're moody, like all over the place, and
Oh my
and
God,
you
yeah.
feel out of control with it because despite your best efforts, nothing that you're doing seems to be working. And that can be a really awful place to be sitting in, and it can lead to depression and other things like that, and pulling back from society, pulling away from friends, pulling away from the things you love to do. So we do have conversations about, remembering the things that you love, remembering the things
Mm.
that when you wake up, like what are the things that fill you with joy? The things that
Mm,
you involved in a running club. Do you like to knit? Is gardening your thing, or just, whatever those things are that you
mhm,
did, it's important to keep them going
mhm.
because we can get you through this. I'm not going to say for everybody it's going to be easy, but we can
No.
get you through this and hopefully take the edge off of some of that crap that's
Hmm.
happening that's driving you crazy. Because in
Yeah.
this, there is a gift. We're not meant to be in a reproductive phase our entire lives. Like, I
Thank you.
cannot imagine having little kids right now. I
Oh,
can't.
right. Yeah.
Get all of the stuff that involves. I can't imagine it. So there's this point in time where when when I get with friends or with clients and they're starting to feel a little better, they're starting to feel like, okay, I think we've got this. I think we've
Mhm.
got this. It's still, yeah, we
Yeah.
all like to look like we did when we were 20. It's
Maybe,
not
maybe
always
not.
possible, right?
Depends on how we looked when we were
But
20.
it depends on how we looked. But the thing about the gift is that you're coming into a season of your life where finally, it's probably where I've had the most successful conversations with women about being more selfish, like looking after yourself.
Yes.
Because if you're, as women, we tend to be, and this is nothing against men, but I can only speak
No.
as a woman because I've never been a man. So, but women, we are largely the caregivers and the nurturers of the world. We take care
Yeah.
of our children, we take care of our families, we take care of extended families. We spend a lot of our life putting other people first and putting ourselves last. But when you're going through menopause, that's not always what you can do. If you want to get through it with some sanity, you need to
Right.
step back and start being more focused on yourself and being a little
Yeah.
selfish with your time, being much
Hmm.
more selfish with your self-care. And that's a huge gift that I hope more women start to acknowledge and embrace, because
Yeah.
that makes part of the journey much smoother when you go, oh, this is time for me. I may not like what's happening, but this
Hmm.
is time for me to focus on me and actually put the time and energy that I've been
Yeah.
putting to everybody else my whole life into myself.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 And it's a hard habit to break.
It is. It's a really tough sell at the outset.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be
Yeah.
because we're just so wired and programmed. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of women, they just unconsciously, they could wake up in a complete dream, like a, sleep state of walking and just go about the daily activities of taking care of people because we've done it like it's autopilot. It becomes the
Yeah.
autopilot switch. So we really have to turn that one off and focus on ourselves.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. And let other people help you. That's
Yeah.
the other
And I mean,
thing.
at that point, if for not, no, not exclusively, not all women, but for most women, by that point, the kids are older to a point
Mhm.
where, yeah, you can go make your own sandwich. Like you
Yes. Thank
can take
you.
care of
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
or,
And
or
make one for me while you're at it.
right,
Right.
or they've moved out and they're maybe at
That's
college, or
right.
maybe they're starting their own family. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times our kids are at a point where they're kind of starting their own lives and they still need us, but not in the
Hmm.
same kind of capacity. So
No.
it's also being willing to let go a little bit and let
Yes.
your children, start figuring out the adulting aspect of their life and what that's going to
Yeah.
be. Focus on yourself.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is hard, even if we've been working ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So we did have other responsibilities and we did have other things. And but it all kind of comes apart when you hit menopause, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yeah, and just all these memories are coming back. It's like, oh my God, yeah, that was that
Yeah,
was not a fun period.
it's kind of like looking sitting in the middle of the room and it's spinning and you're just looking for one handle to grab onto.
Thank you.
Just
Yeah.
one handle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible, but I think, and the big thing is what I like to, the message I really want to get across to women is when things start to change, because like, you just know, you notice things are, I've had so many women say to me, I just woke up and all of a sudden I had this muffin top. Like, where did that come from? Things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're aware of physical changes, we're aware of emotional changes and, all the other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay. And I would say it's necessary to reach out and get help with that because you can't easily drive yourself crazy with it, trying to figure it out because it's a lot of things happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And we kind of want to fix everything. We want to make everything okay right away. And it's a bit of a process. I mean, hormone levels are all over the place. You have to look at if you are a woman or a female that has largely, for the most part, taken care of herself. You've had a, good
Mm.
made good
Mm.
lifestyle choices. You've
Mm.
exercised, kept your body moving.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a good diet, maybe done some supplementation, but you've taken care of yourself. You're going into it sort of better, with a better Swiss Army knife, as I would say,
Yeah. Yeah.
with more in your favor than if you haven't. But even if you haven't had the best lifestyle, if you haven't made the best choices, it doesn't mean that it has to be a complete crazy,
No.
awful. Doesn't have to be the worst time in your life.
No. No, not at all.
But
But
asking for help, reaching for help, finding coaches,
yeah.
finding people that understand or
Uh-huh.
that at least have some background, some education in, women going through menopause. Those
Yeah.
are important people to seek out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing I'll throw in there, which is that it's a great excuse too.
Yeah.
So, if you never had a good excuse for why you're taking care of yourself, for why, oh no, I don't feel like doing that tonight, that kind of thing. All you have to do is throw that out there and 9 out of 10 people will go, oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine, because menopause has such a bad rap,
Well, it does. And I mean, I think we've come a long way from when
Mhm.
like our mothers and our
Oh my
grandmothers
God.
had to
They
go
didn't
through it on
even,
their own, and
yeah.
just kind of lived with it,
Mhm.
probably not very happily. Uh,
No.
I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, but in just, doing the reading, doing the research, talking with women that are
Mhm.
grandmothers, great grandmothers that are living
Yeah.
really amazing, fulfilling lives.
Yeah.
We've come a long way in terms of the acceptance of it, I think, and
Mhm.
this big socially sitting around and talking about it.
Yes.
It's not such
Yes.
a taboo, like we don't call it the change of life, or it's not like this.
I
She's just kind
know.
of like put her in this
Yes.
room in the back while she lives while she gets over the whole crazy, 5-10 years of her life, and then we'll let her out again. It's not quite that anymore. It's not this really, topic we avoid. We're talking about it, and I think it's great. And there's people that are invested in working with and helping women that are going through it. There's a lot more.
Hmm.
We know a lot more about the body. We know a lot more about hormone levels.
Yeah.
We know a lot more about how supplementation can help. And I'm not talking, necessarily lab manufactured things. I'm
No, no,
talking
no, no.
like vitamins and minerals and, things like
Absolutely. Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
adaptogens. Like we know so much more about how these natural components can be beneficial.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Excuse me. Um, yeah, and that takes a little bit of experimenting as well because everything affects people differently,
Yeah, there's
right?
not a one-stop shop,
Uh,
and that's why, why getting labs is really important, and not just
mhm.
getting them once, getting them, having
Makes
somebody that
sense.
understands labs and knows how to read them,
Hmm.
sitting down and talking with them and them saying like, you are completely void of vitamin D. We need to start, starting with things as simple as that. Where's your vitamin D at?
Yeah.
Are you taking magnesium at night? It's not, these are things that, again, they're also not going to immediately fix everything and take it away. but they can actually help. And our bodies are really, really amazing. And they
Yes.
really know what to do. And sometimes they need a little help. Like when a woman finds out she's pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
most women want to do all the best things. So they take the prenatal vitamins, they're eating better, they're following doing all the right things because they want to have a healthy, happy baby and they want to go into labor and delivery with a strong body. So it's no different than menopause. We need to go into and through menopause with a strong, healthy body the best we can. So there's certain things that we really need to be doing to support our body because the body knows what to do and it's really good at it. It's not just blindly putting us on this course of life where, okay, now it's time
Right.
to be pregnant. Now it's time to be a mom. Now it's time to go through menopause. It's just, there is a reason and a very conscious, I think, like path journey that
Mm.
we're on, and menopause is part of it. So the same kind of attention that we would give to ourselves when we're pregnant and having our children is the same kind of attention we need to give ourselves when we're going through menopause. So labs are huge because you can, I'd say actually there's a couple things that are very important. Labs are definitely important, and having somebody on board who can really read them, not somebody that goes, you're in the right range. Well, am I really? Because
For
quite
what?
frankly,
Right.
the range according to whom, according to what, because I can tell you
Yeah.
right now, I don't feel like I'm in range. I feel like I'm very out of range somehow. So somebody that's going to listen to you, that's going to talk with you, and you have to advocate for your own health. The other thing that I like to tell women is start keeping track. It doesn't have to be homework or another job, but start keeping track of things. Have a little notebook or something, like just write down, like,
Yeah.
insomnia, like I'm getting 2 hours of sleep and then I'm up for 4, or, all of
Yeah.
a sudden going to the bathroom is like, I've never had a problem with it, but now all of a sudden, like it's been 4 days, or,
Yeah.
like noticing dark circle, like all these things that are new
Mhm.
that aren't the result of, well, I've been sick with the flu for 2 weeks. So of course
Yeah.
you're not going to feel or look your best, but
Right.
noticing a consistent, like things that have changed that are becoming very consistent.
Yeah.
Taking note of those, because those are also really important things when you're talking with a practitioner, whether that's a
Oh
holistic
my God. Yeah.
practitioner, a nutritionist, your
Hmm.
doctor, whoever that is. The more of that biofeedback you can give them,
Yeah.
along with blood labs, the better that they're able to look at it and go, okay, well, here's what your labs are saying, and here's what you've shown me is happening in your life. Now I
Mm.
can start putting this puzzle together to try to come up with, where do we start?
Yeah.
What do we start with? Are we going to do a 60-day plan and then run labs again? Are we going to do a 90-day plan and run labs again? But how are we going to work through this
Yeah.
and keep following up and keep adjusting or making adjustments as we
Hmm.
need to, so that you feel the best you can going through this really big physiological change in your body?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's strange because it can be things that you don't even think about. I mean, I ended up developing a whole bunch of allergies that have never gone away,
Yeah.
to food primarily, but
Yeah.
other things too. Sometimes I can't put lotion on and I can't, it's just, and I know I got it from my mother because she was a walking allergy
Mm,
reaction.
yeah.
So, but it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. And it can feel daunting, it can feel scary, it can
Hmm.
feel overwhelming. But I do
Right.
also think we're really blessed that the time that we're in,
Yes.
more like women are willing to sit down and talk about it. But
And men as
yeah.
well,
Well,
more
and but
so,
and
let's
they
say.
and they kind of need to, like, if you're married or you live with a woman, the more you know and understand about this, the better your life is going to be too. Like, just in terms of an understanding, it's like, because you're
Yeah.
with this person, all of a sudden they've changed, and not just how they look has changed, but
Right.
they're all of a
Right.
sudden little things are setting off. You come home,
Yeah.
you went to get pick up. She's baking and she's running out of some things. So you offer to go to the grocery store, pick up a few things. You come home, you forgot eggs or you forgot vanilla. And she either loses her mind or she breaks down crying. And you're kind of looking at this person going, well,
Who
that's
who is this
who are
person?
you?
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm not saying that men need to understand it because they
Yeah.
have to. It's just like, you got to suck it up, princess. This is what it is. But
Yeah.
men, if they can understand what's happening and be supportive, they also don't have to walk away feeling like they've completely ruined, like
Right.
can't do anything
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
That's the other side of it. The one thing that, and once, if I've been working with somebody for a while and they get very comfortable, is there usually ends up being a conversation about how there was some tension in
Yeah.
marriage because
Yes. Yes.
I'm going through all this stuff. I don't know how to talk about it. I feel like I'm crazy. He thinks I'm crazy. Now we're fighting all the time. We're not getting along. I have no libido. He doesn't understand it. So I think it's very important for men to have the conversations, to understand it so that they don't feel like they're at fault or that
Yeah.
they've done something terrible, that their wife doesn't love them anymore, that they can't get anything right. It's going to help them too, because I
Yeah.
can imagine being on the other side of that and going, I don't know what I've done wrong. I don't know why I can't seem to do anything right anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And your kids, if you still
And your
got kids
kids,
around, right?
and your kids, it can really, yeah, if your kids are still at home, or if they just happen to whatever reason be at home,
Yeah.
maybe they're going to college, and with the cost of living now, it would make sense for kids
Right.
if
Yeah.
they can go to college locally and live at home. That'd be great. But it can put a strain on the entire family. But now that, I think, like I said, more women are more
Yes.
open and willing to talk about it. Like
Totally.
I find it quite refreshing that you
Yeah.
can be out talking with a group of women and someone goes, "Oh yeah, I'm in menopause," or "Oh my God, I just finished it." Like, it's not this
Right.
secretive thing. Women
Yeah.
are very open to
Yeah.
talking about it, and that opens up a conversation of like, really, what was that like? Did you notice your hair was falling out, or did you find like? And then they start having these conversations, and women
Yeah.
talk about, well, this is what works for me, but oh, also, you know what? There's this really great doctor that absolutely
Yeah.
helped me, or there was this really great coach that helped me. And that's how we help one another, as we're talking about it.
Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing that comes to mind is um that there are some male men gynecologists,
Mhm.
and it's like they're always very supportive, and they've got lots of information, right?
Yeah.
But it always seemed counterintuitive, I guess,
Mm.
for
Yeah.
them to be giving me advice.
Right.
Yeah, as much as a lot of it helped. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't, but it's just kind of one of those things that you look at. It's like, what's wrong with this
Right.
picture?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, they have their own version of menopause. So
Right. I mean, all of us go through a change of life. I mean,
that's
it's
right.
just like we go through the seasons, and we get into a season where
Yeah.
our body is okay. You did the wild and crazy youth things. You've had children, you've raised children, you've worked, you've kind of lived this very busy, full life,
Mm.
building it up that you're supposed to. And now you get to take a step back a little bit. Now you actually get to kind of relax into some of those things that you've built up, enjoy some things, and take a couple breaths.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
season of, like I call it, it's a season of self-care. It really is.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I think self-care is important throughout your entire life,
Yes,
but when we're young and busy and,
more so.
head down and just go, 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 we often don't always make time for it. But life has a funny way of putting this phase in where you
Uh-huh.
kind of have to, because if you don't, you
Yeah.
could probably end up feeling very miserable for the later part of your life, which is very sad. And
That's
it's
true.
not necessary, because getting
Yeah.
older doesn't mean you have to get old.
Right.
I mean, we
Yep.
do get
I
old. We
like
get
that.
older and
Yeah.
we eventually get old, but it doesn't mean that at 50 and 60 you have to get old.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. 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 And because I think previously there are just people would start to trying to think what the right word is, but just kind of stay at home more and hang around and don't go out and do the things and don't go out and learn new things and
Mm.
you
And that
know.
can be when you're not feeling your best,
Mhm.
like when you're sitting there and you're like, I don't feel well. Not
Right.
that I feel sick, but I don't feel
Mhm.
right. I don't know what's happening. I don't
Yep.
have any energy. I'm not sleeping, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
bitchy. You know,
Yep.
it can
Bingo.
be like, why would you want to go out at this point?
Mhm.
Because there's no motivation. But and that can be one of the tough things. I did when I was living in New Zealand. I had one client, and that was the big hurdle was like getting her out the door in the morning.
Mm.
It took a lot of conversations. I mean, she was really wanting to do it. She just had a difficult time bringing herself because, she was feeling depressed,
Yeah.
and it was, she get up every morning. She's, I look in the mirror and I hate what I see. I'm like, okay, well, we need to change that conversation.
Yeah, right. Let's start
Um,
there. Yeah.
Yeah, but just getting out in the morning, and it can sound so fluffy, but getting
No.
outside and getting that morning sun is huge. I mean,
Yeah, I bet.
when the sun rays go through your eyes and hit
Mm.
your brain, all kinds of good things happen, you know? So something as simple as just making time in the morning, especially if you're not sleeping well and you're up early, get up and go outside for a 20-30 minute walk,
Yeah.
early morning sun. And I can promise you that after a few days of doing that consistently, you're going to want to get up and do that walk.
Mhm. Well, and you probably won't even realize that until you don't do it one day and you realize that you miss it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So it's it's a big change, but it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be a catastrophic change or completely life altering change. It's a change in your life,
Yep.
but that doesn't necessarily mean it changes it in a negative way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's going to change again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Even so
It'd
you
be
go to
nice.
menopause, then you go to postmenopausal, and then you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It would be great if we could. I mean, I'm sure we could all think about what's a time in life if we could freeze time and just kind of stop there. That'd be great. But I mean, realistically, you'd get tired. Wouldn't you get tired?
very tired of whatever
And then there's
part.
things you'd
Yes.
miss. And then there's things because as much as maybe getting older for some of us is like, well, it's not really necessarily something I'm excited about. It's
Mhm.
going to happen. So
Yeah.
my perspective and my mindset about it is going to play a huge part in what that is like for me. Some of the things that come with that are things like grandchildren. Also, some of the other things are not having to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week, not having to drive a rush hour twice a day. Like there's a lot of other, being able to take an afternoon nap if you want to. There's a lot of other little things and some big things that come along with getting older that are really amazing gifts that we don't get in our 20s and 30s, but we do get them older, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Just time, even just finally having time for yourself, like time to
yeah.
read those stack of books that you've wanted to read for years. Now you have time to read those books. Now you have time to, you love the movies, but you always put it off
Mhm.
because, you get home from work or it was too late or the weekends are with yard work and chores and things like that. Now, Tuesday cheap night, you can go to the movies
Yeah.
because you don't have all the other stuff. So there's a lot of little gifts that come with it. And I think if we can remember that,
Hmm. Hmm.
have a lot of gratitude for that,
Yeah.
we won't get as caught up in, well, this sucks. That frame of mind.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with that. Yeah, and it is something that you have to keep reminding yourself of, you
Mhm.
know, um, because it's funny because you're saying, the whole stack of books. I have so many books, and I have so many books I haven't read
Yeah.
that I bought because, oh yeah, I want to read that. Oh yeah, 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 here, here, here. And it's like I don't read anymore. And it's like, why don't I read anymore? and it's one of those things, it's like I have to think about it and make time for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. I've
So,
got so many books, and it
yeah.
was funny. This morning I was doing a little bit of reading, and I looked over and I thought, oh man, I can't wait till I have a little bit more time so I can attack these other books. Now, I used to be able to also read a book a week,
Oh, wow.
but now I
I'm
find it
impressed.
takes me longer. And I
Hmm.
have to go back and reread because I just can't remember as well as I used to. So it takes me, that's the other thing. Like but it's like, you know what? That's not the worst thing. I'm still, it takes me a little longer, but then I actually schedule in time during the week. Like this is my half hour
Oh.
reading on this day, and I make myself do it.
Ah,
Because
okay.
back when I was younger, and I remember standing at the stove reading a book and like stirring the pot, making dinner and hollering at the kids, like, get your
Yeah,
homework, somebody feed the dog, like all
yeah.
that, and now I actually get to sit with my book
Ah,
and read it, which is great.
yeah, yeah, with nobody bothering you.
Yeah, I just
Or,
get to
hey, mom, where's this?
yeah, make a cup of tea, sit down, read my book.
Mm,
I read, now I read with, well, because a lot of the books most of the books I read are whether they're like self-help, or I'm reading one right now on cortisol and stress response.
ah,
Very, very interesting. So I'm always highlighting so I can always flip back and find the important points. Because
yep.
I remember being in university, getting ready for exams and stuff, and reading, and just it was there. It was
Yeah,
just
I
one, I
know.
read it, saw it, it was
I
there, and now
know.
it's not quite the same.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not at all. It's not the same anywhere close. Although well, we won't go there. Okay. But anyways, well, maybe should we wrap up, you think? Or do you
Sure.
have any final
No, I think
pointers that you just
that's,
want to say, hey, remember this from this
yeah. Sure. So I would say for, the women who are listening,
mm,
when you start to notice that, because you'll notice maybe some very slight changes, they may become a little more pronounced. Keep track of those things. Keep track of those things.
mm,
Don't get all fearful about, oh,
okay.
this is happening. Yeah, it's probably happening, but it's not the end of all things great in your life. It's a change in season.
Mhm,
There's a lot of things you can do to go through it with relative ease in terms of
mm,
being able to support yourself. Um, Surround yourself with really great support, like a team of people, and
mm,
that can be a lot of things. It can be a counselor, it can be a holistic practitioner, your medical doctor, a whole team of people that, are working with you to take you through this transition.
mhm,
And there's lots of options. There's lots of options and
mhm,
lots of
mhm.
things that are available now to help
Yeah.
you. And labs are very important. It's really important to get labs and to do follow-up labs. And again, that's a
Okay.
conversation depending on where you're at and how you're feeling. That
Yeah.
could be 60 days, every 90 days, but that's very important because the blood shows us what we need to know.
Right. That makes sense.
Deficiencies, where you're low, where's your testosterone levels at, where's your estrogen levels at, because that's, where's progesterone at? Like those are really
Hmm.
important things. And we only get that through labs. So it's important to really step back,
Mm.
be selfish, and
Yeah.
focus on some self-care and taking care of yourself, because
Uh-huh.
it doesn't have to be a carnival ride. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And for the men that are listening, you know, school yourself in it because it's not your fault. It's not your fault. We're going through something that at times can be, we just don't have the words to describe it or
Mhm.
explain it. Women by nature tend to be more emotional creatures anyways. So sometimes
Mm.
it's very difficult for us to
Yeah.
say what
Yeah.
it is we're feeling. But if
Yeah.
you can understand that there's this transition, this phase that we're going through, if you understand that, then at
Hmm.
least you'll know that this isn't something you did or didn't do.
Right.
And understanding that helps us just as much as it's going to help you.
Yeah. 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 And I think also to understand that we're not saying, oh, it's the menopause,
Yeah.
right, as an excuse.
Right.
It's not an excuse. It's a state of being.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening in the body, and it's
That's right.
causing
That's
us to
right.
feel in
And
ways
yeah,
we
and just
don't
wait,
understand.
guys, because yours is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Anyways, yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I think you're giving us a lot of good information, a lot of good places to start and to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Um, and excuse me. And I would totally agree that the number one thing is to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to do you, it's a great investment to make. If you haven't been doing it, it's a great invest. It's never too late, right?
No, no,
So start
no.
making that investment because it's
Yeah.
going to pay off in spades as you get older. I mean,
Yes.
I look out and I see, grandparents, out with their grandkids kicking the ball around and stuff. And I'm like, that's what I don't want to be inside feeling so awful that I can't move. And my hips hurt too much that
Mhm.
I can't, that's really nice to see these, elderly senior
Yeah.
generation really living full lives and out there active and doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the only thing I'll add is for the other women who, like me, had very tough time whenever I got my period,
Right.
it's so much nicer when you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
It's something to look forward to.
Right. Right.
So that is one big positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, well, let me, excuse me, say my usual thing at the end, which is that, which isn't totally true, but sorry, that neither of us are doctors because you actually do have some of those credentials. So, um, and that we shouldn't be seeing this as medical advice specifically. And, if you are having any of these issues and you really want to get some help, go talk to your doctor or talk to some friends who have someone who works well with them, um, and do something about it because there are things you can do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I will say what I always say, which is that I will be talking to everybody else next week.